तो ये पहला वीडियो है इस सीरीज का एंथ्रोपोलॉजी के। इसमें बात करेंगे कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कल्चरल रिलेटिविज्म पे। और चलिए इसमें आगे देखते हैं क्वेश्चन क्या है। द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ कल्चरल रिलेटिविज्म एंड इंश्योरिंग डिबेट सराउंडिंग इट हैज स्पार्क्ड डिस्कशंस विद इन एंथ्रोपोलॉजी। ठीक है, दिस इज द क्वेश्चन। ओके, sparked debates. Now the introduction is back, like name of scholar. A better introduction is defining keyword, which is here cultural relativism plus scholar plus name of study. This is a better way to introduce your 15 marker. Okay, rather than making these absurd background and concept things, just first define it properly. Okay, chalo. So what is the definition of cultural relativism? What is the definition is culture is unique and should be understood from insiders perspective. Okay, this is a simple definition. Okay, okay, in the place of concept you can, better heading is features. What does it talk about? Talks about, okay, every culture is unique to its area. Okay, then culture is relative and not absolute. Okay, the variation in culture is due to historical process, environment and individual psychology. Yes, these are the factors which determine the diversity in the culture. That's why Boas focused upon studying the cultures, particularly giving the concept of historical particularism, because he was studying the cultural history of that particular region. Okay, hence culture must be studied according to its own terms. Better write amic view. Okay, then one more thing, methodology is field work. Okay, that has to be written. Debate surrounding cultural relativism. Yes, Elizabeth Zucca Chanter stated that culture is used to justify oppressive practices. That is right. Oppressive practices like female genital mutilation among the African tribes plus Dawoodi Bohra Muslims. Okay, it is xenocentric in nature. Means it supports the dominant sections. Like in India, example is given of like Ashraf Muslims versus Pasmandas. So the Islamic interpretation is generally as per the Ashraf Muslims, and Pasmandas are those who are considered lower caste in that, and they don't get a voice for their interpretation where they are treated equally. Okay, it is basically the caste identity does not leave even after the conversion. Okay, postmodernist criticizes so that cultural relativism when viewed from an anthropological view. Okay, this is unclear point, not comprehensible. Cultural relativism can also propagate and justify extreme views similar to ethnocentrism. Any example to back that up? Yes. There is an example like stoning to death in Sharia dominant societies. We had that few years back in Iran. It can also lead to marginalization of weaker societies, although these points are same and need to be clubbed. Cultural relativism and human rights. This is the main point. Mariam Namzeen segregating rights would result in a racist phenomena. Okay, cultural relativism focuses on individual rights over collective rights. This is actually extremely, extremely wrong that this point has been written. Actually, cultural relativism focuses upon group rights rather than individual rights. That is why it is often considered as moral evasion, where morality is kind of like disappears because the topic belongs to some society whose culture has not to be judged by a society which is considered historically dominant. Like the whites generally avoid any kind of cultural appropriation to other societies which have been previously colonized by their like colonial kingdoms, okay, like the British. Okay, here a basic very good point should be threat of getting labeled for, this is the important point, radical universalism. That is the most important point. One fears of the threat of being labeled as radically universal, means imposing what is considered to be a universally occurring phenomena on the smaller and simple societies. Okay. Hence, a balanced approach is required, which is trans relativism. Very good point. Wherein the human rights are not imposed rather than protected. I think universal human rights should be bare minimum standards. Okay, should be standards. Need for cross-cultural dialogue, that is also true. Plus, what is required? Studying isolated small societies from amic perspective. Contemporary relevance, the issue between, this is very bad approach to write. This is here written BRO. Nobody understands what is BRO. Okay, it can be some border organization. It and Nukem Dong village. How the hell examiner is going to know this particular current affairs, especially whenever you write a current affairs, at least explain it a little bit. Give the name of the place, which state. Okay, contemporary relevance you can talk about like studying or doing social impact assessment of Greater Andaman Development Project, Port Development Project. Okay, that could be a better example. Okay, David Mandelbaum said cultural relativism is a hallmark of anthropology. Okay, you can write it is now axiomatic to field study in anthropology and used as assumption in any society's study. Okay, that could be written. That could be a good thing to write. His answer was too fragmented to be written for an anthro answer. Anthro answer, any optional answer needs to have some kind of flow. So better to define with a scholar name and name of study, then explain the features, then explain the debate around. What is the debate? In that debate, you have to talk about three, four things. First, local versus universal values or morals. Second, dominant sections, narratives. Third, prevents rational view or judgment. Fourth, threat of labeling, being labeled as radical universalism. Fifth, focuses a lot on differences because the entire concept is basically saying that culture is unique. So to find that uniqueness, it focuses a lot on unique differences rather than the similarities, which often leads to some cultural divide. Like the cultural relativism when applied to, let us say, different religions in India, let's say Hindus and Muslims. Okay, so it focuses upon the nature of difference, like eating habits or praying habits or the origin. It often can lead to a discussion where there can be a communal overtone. Okay, so that is the one thing you need to focus upon. Okay, this is a normal, like very average written answer, so 6.5 for that.